of the chapter is manufacturing industries. Clear? Now moving on to the distribution of major industries in India. Now here comes the important point. Why? Because the industries, their names, which are in India, and to which areas they are basically distributed. That means in which area in India they are found. So there will be a map work for this particular question also. In a long run, in general, you are supposed to keep a track of the various industries and the places where they are found. Yeah. So beforehand, I tell you that the distribution of industries needs a map. So be mentally prepared. Check up your atlases for this heading. Okay, so here we go. The iron and steel industry, the textile industry, and the information technology industry are the major industries of the world. So basically the iron and steel, we know the products and the byproducts we get from there. Then textile, that means the variety of clothes and designers, etc. that we wear. Yeah. And the third one is the information technology. Whatever we are talking, whatever we are communicating right now is only possible because of that. For that matter, even the selling of products now to a large extent depends upon information technology. The various websites, the various apps which are dealing with the trade and commerce, it depends. You definitely know about Amazon, you definitely know about Flipkart, you definitely know about various clothing apps like Myntra and all, right? So all this is possible and linked with information and technology. So these are the three basic industries which are found and common all over the world. Among them, iron and steel and textile industry are the older ones, whereas IT industry is the new developing industry. The iron and steel industries are mainly located in Germany, please the worldwide distribution, Germany, USA, China, Japan, and Russia. Textile industry is mainly developed in India, please underline that, textile industry. Then Hong Kong, South Korea, Japan, and Taiwan. The moment you see India, please make sure you are supposed to definitely know. Then the Silicon Valley of Central California and Bangalore region of India are major hubs of information technology industry. So in India, Bangalore. Yeah. Now let's come on to separate headings where we'll deal with these industries. Now the first is iron and steel industry. Iron and steel industry are also comprises various inputs, processes, and outputs. This acts as a feeder to other industries as it provides raw materials and machinery to other industries. So whenever we talk of iron and steel industry, we know that one industry which is dealing with the raw collection of iron and making it into one proper sheet or maybe wire. But then its applicability for various fields is then sub-given to the other industries dependent on these iron and steel industries. Clear? Like supposing a raw iron is created, ore is removed, all the impurities are removed, and it is made ready in one industry. Then those who need it for utensils, those who need it for automobiles, those who need it for any other thing, they come and they take that part of the iron and they have their separate industries which are making those byproducts from the steel industry, iron and steel industry. Clear? Now, iron ore, coal, and limestone are the main raw materials for iron and steel industry. Please underline this. You need to have iron ore. That means iron in its mixed form. Then coal is needed because a lot of heat is needed for melting and smelting the iron. Okay. And limestone are the main raw material contents which are needed for iron and steel industry. Clear? Now, the process of converting iron ore into steel involves many stages. Please underline many stages. Such as, first of all, the raw material is put in the blast furnace where it undergoes smelting and then it is refined. We obtain steel in the form of outputs. So first of all, the iron ore is taken, it is heated in a blast furnace with this immense amount of heat. There it is given proper shape, and the steel is basically extracted and given shape, and then it is ready for the output. Clear? Importance and uses of steel. Now we all know जो उसकी use होगी वो इसकी importance होगी. Clear? Next, see. Steel is the output of iron and steel industry, which is very tough. By adding small amounts of aluminium, please underline, aluminium, nickel, and copper. Special alloys of steel can be made. So steel alloys, that means steel itself is a hard metal, but to make it more harder and more flexible and durable, we add steel with aluminium, with nickel and copper to make out the various outputs. These alloys give steel unusual hardness, toughness, or ability to resist rust. Now, basically, iron has a rusting capacity. If you leave iron in an open, because when it comes in contact with moisture, it starts rusting. Jung lagne lagta hai. ठीक है? But if these metals are mixed, it increases the durability, hardness, and flexibility of the metal. Clear? Now, number one, steel is called the backbone of modern industry as it provides tools and machinery for other industries. I told you, I've been repeating it. It is the basic backbone of an industry, of all the other industries which are dependent on it. Then number two, all means of transport such as ships, trains, trucks, buses, autos, etc. are made from steel. So any means of communication you talk of is made out of steel. Yeah. Number three, the drilling of oil wells and its transportation takes place with steel machinery and pipelines of steel respectively. So any material to be transported, especially the petroleum, the oil and petroleum, the machinery used to drill is also made up of steel, and the pipelines underground to transport the liquid to one place, from one place to another, are also made of steel. So those pipelines as well as the machinery used for drilling are both made from iron and steel. Next, the steel framework for large buildings and farm machines are also made of steel. Now for building up any structure, आपने देखा होगा वो लोहे की सरियां लगती हैं, then cementing होती है and all that. Even this basic roof that you are seeing has number of bars made of the sariya that you call in Hindi is made out of this iron only, iron and steel. So all these frameworks need this industry as well. Moving on further, development of iron and steel industry. Now comes the point where you have to remember the places in India. Clear? Previously, before that is 1800, iron and steel industry was located where the raw materials, power supply, and river water were easily available. Later, the ideal location for the industry was near the coal fields. Please underline this. The ideal location near the coal fields and close to canals and railways. After 1950, flat lands near seaports became the ideal places. Underline flatlands near the seaports became the ideal places for setting that industry due to expansion of steel work, and for the import of iron ore is needed. So now earlier it was basically in olden times where the raw material was there, the industries were. Gradually in 1950s, they they were near the coal fields and where the water bodies were. But by 1950, they decided to be near the seaports or near the places from where they could be exported as well. Clear? And the water supply was no doubt there. In India, now comes the important paragraph, and all eyes please set yourselves for marking the places. In India, iron and steel industry has developed due to easy availability of raw materials. So why India has been easily working on it? Because the raw material is easily available. Then cheap labor is found here. Please underline it as a second point. Then transport is there, and market. So all four conditions are easily available in India, and that is the reason why India has a big, huge industry of iron and steel developing in a quick pace. Okay, now underline the places. West Bengal, Jharkhand, Odisha, and Chhattisgarh are most important in terms of location of iron and steel industry, as these are rich in all the factors that are necessary for the location of that industry. That means, firstly, the raw material is easily available. Secondly, the water supply is next to them. Thirdly, all these places being next near Chota Nagpur Plateau, the plateau region has rich and abundant supply of coal also. Clear? Clear? If you see your mineral resources, you'll see that the coal deposits are also found in these areas. Clear? So if you relate this chapter with the previous chapter, you'll know that due to all these reasons, the closeness to water body, it's next to Bay of Bengal, all these places, and then talk of these Bengal and all, they have that river Ganga flowing next to us. Yeah. So closeness to water body, availability of raw material, and the material used, raw material and another part coal used for generating heat are all available here, making the situation affordable and handy for starting this industry in these areas. Clear? Therefore, all the important steel producing centers, such as now the centers, these centers are in Bengal, Jharkhand, Odisha, and Chhattisgarh only, but they are naming the places now. That means the towns or cities. Underline Bhilai, Durgapur, Burnpur, Jamshedpur, Rourkela, Bokaro are situated in these four states. Bhadravati and Vijayanagar in Karnataka, Vishakhapatnam in Andhra Pradesh, Salem in Tamil Nadu are other important centers that are using locally available raw material. India's steel production increased from 1 million ton in 1947 to 32.60 million in 2004 and 5. In 2004, India was the largest exporter, please underline, the largest exporter of steel, which accounted for 2.25% of the global steel trade. So it has become one of the largest exporter. That means such a lot of abundantly found steel, iron and steel is here that it is even exported. Clear? Now we come on to one of the industries set up here. Tata Iron and Steel Company, Jamshedpur. Please know, out of all the places that you mark for iron and steel, you definitely mark Jamshedpur. Okay? Next, it was established in 1907 at Sakchi. Please underline Sakchi, underline the date, near the confluence of river Subranrekha and Sharkai. I'm sorry. It is the first plant that was established before independence, and it is privately owned plant. Can you tell me the owner of Tata? Ratan Tata. Okay, and before him it was Jamshed Singh Tata, JRD Tata. Okay, so he was the, before India even got its independence, these industries were set up at that time. Okay, now rapid growth recorded in that company during the First and Second World Wars. Due to that industry, the surrounding regions of Jamshedpur become a big industrial center. Geographically, it is the most conveniently situated iron steel center in the country. Now, geographically also it is very well suited. Plus, it grew immensely, and that has led to a big township with this industry only, pertaining to all the steel, iron and steel work. Many various other subordinating industries have grown here. Clear? Now, the TISCO, underline this name, Tata Steel Company, it's the full form, I will let you know. Tata Iron and Steel Company has given the way to set up several other industrial plants in Jamshedpur. The government also took initiatives to set up other industries in country. iron sheets, girders, railway coaches, sleepers, wires, etc. are manufactured in that industrial center. Different industries have been set up to manufacture different goods, such as Indian Tin Plate Industries, Steel and Wire Company, Tata Engineering, and Locomotive Company. The development of the iron and steel industry opened the doors to rapid industrial development in India. So now they have named you some other steel companies owned by Tata doing various fields. Like, see, Indian tin plates are made, then iron and steel and wire companies are there, then Tata Engineering and locomotives. That means locomotives means pertaining to the, call it the train bogies or the automobiles as well, anything for locomotion. Okay. Now, the development of iron and steel industry opened the doors to rapid industrial development in India. Almost all sectors of Indian industry depend heavily on the iron and steel industry for their basic infrastructure. The Indian iron and steel industry consists of large integrated steel plants as well as mini steel mills. It also includes secondary producers, rolling mills, and ancillary industries. That means those small industries which are dependent on the working of the main industry. Like supposing for making those blast furnaces, you need a lot of coal there. So maybe a small industry to generate coal and to keep it ready to be given to the main industry is also subordinately working along. The machinery used for making these steel things, so those machinery, the parts, the sub parts are also built up in the area near and around the main industry. Clear till here? Then next, Sakchi Jamshedpur was chosen to set up the steel plant due to several reasons. Let us see. Number one, it was close to iron ore, coal, and manganese deposits, as well as to Kolkata, which provided a large market. So the location of the place was magnificent. It had abundant supply of raw material. Then iron ore, coal, and manganese deposits were here. Clear? Then it was closer to Kolkata, which was a big market for selling of these things, which were produced. Okay. Number two, Cisco gets coal from Jharia, Bokaro, Raniganj, and iron ore, limestone, dolomite, manganese, and jungle slurry from Odisha and Jharkhand. So the coal, the basic byproduct which is needed, it gets from all these places. So you need to know where the coal deposits are in Jharia, Bokaro, Raniganj. Then iron ore deposits and limestone, dolomite, and manganese, Jugslan, etc. They get it from Odisha, Jharkhand. Okay. For blast furnaces, quartzite sand comes from Kalimati, which is only 10 kilometers away from that place. So for blast furnace, the sand is needed. So that we get it from Kalimati. Okay, then Subarna, what is it? Subarnarekha. Subarnarekha and Khorkai provides fresh water for different purposes. Cheap labor is available from Eastern UP, MP, Bihar, and Odisha. Also, government initiatives provide adequate capital for its fast development. So even governments of these places, they are also aiding the industries so that the quick and more production is done in this field. Clear till here? We stop here for today. We'll take up Pittsburgh, Youngstown, which is again dealing with the same heading in our next class. Okay, clear till here? Please go reread it till the time the bell rings.